Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. When I told her I was finally joining her gym so we could train together, the look on her face was one of complete shock. She stared at me as if I just said I was running for public office. Then she said, "Do me a favor and pretend we don't know each other there. You've gained a bit of weight, and it's bad for my image." Yes, there's nothing that says love and support quite like your significant other wanting to disown you in public because of your body size. I simply nodded, unsure of how else to react when my girlfriend so casually called me an embarrassment. You won't find a card for this on the shelves. But the following week, when she walked into the gym and saw who I was with, her smile completely disappeared. The irony was not lost on me. My name is Noah. Let me explain that I was once a serious athlete, not a professional but a competitive swimmer in my college days. Back then, my existence was a cycle of intense training, discipline, and pushing my body to its absolute limits. My routine was essentially eat, swim, suffer, and repeat. After I finished college, I started a successful software company. I quickly learned that spending 80 hours a week under fluorescent lights, focused on code, wasn't quite the dream I'd imagined. The strict self-control I had in the pool didn't carry over to the office, unless you consider eating 3 takeout meals a day a form of training. Over the past decade, I'd put on a lot of weight. And I don't mean just a few extra pounds that make your favorite pair of jeans feel snug. I mean, I went from an athletic build to looking like the before photo in a weight loss commercial. I was aware of it every single day. Every mirror, every picture, and every sideways glance at a menu served as a harsh reminder that I was a cautionary tale of a before without an after. Then, 2 years ago, I started dating Olivia. She's a wellness influencer. The kind who lives for the perfect gym photo, smooths out every single pore, and treats green smoothies like a sacred ritual. Her entire life is a performance, designed to project perfect health and physical beauty. We share my house, the one I purchased with the profits from my company. We had a financial arrangement where we split the monthly bills, but I was the one paying the mortgage. Because nothing says modern romance like a subsidized living arrangement. I honestly believed we were a team like a famous superhero duo, but with more protein powder and less spandex. I supported her career, even though I often thought it was a bit shallow. I was the reliable, successful guy in the background, the one holding the metaphorical boom mic while she was the star of her own life. I just didn't realize my role was to stay in the background permanently, like an unpaid extra who never even makes it into the blooper reel. Her gym was a place of worship for her. It was less of a weightlifting sanctuary and more of an Instagram chapel, a fancy, trendy place where people lifted their phones more than they did weights. She spent hours there daily, but most of that time was dedicated to finding the perfect angles and lighting, shooting dozens of versions of the same squat video to make it look authentic. Meanwhile, I'd been thinking about getting back in shape for a while. It's not a surprise that a former swimmer would get tired of getting out of breath walking up the stairs. I thought joining her gym would be a great way for us to actually spend some time together, like couples do. It seemed like a sweet idea, for us to bond, sweat, and perhaps even spot each other. I brought it up last week. We were in the kitchen, and I was making dinner because influencer meal prep for her meant unboxing protein bars on camera, not actually cooking. "Hey," I said, stirring the pan like a professional chef. "I was thinking about finally joining your gym. I need to get serious about my health, and I thought it would be cool if we could work out together sometimes." She froze, her thumbs still hovering over her phone screen, as if unsure whether to double tap. The expression on her face wasn't one of excitement or pride. It was pure, unadulterated panic, the same look someone gets when an airport security agent asks them to step aside. She slowly put her phone down and came over, adopting the gentle tone you use for a toddler who's about to touch an electrical socket. "Babe," she said, her voice so sweet I thought I might get a cavity. "I love that you want to get healthy. That's fantastic. But my gym is like my office. It's where I build my brand." She took a deep breath, like she was about to tell me my pet had died. "So if you do join, you need to do me a favor. Act like you don't know me there. You're a little fat, and it would embarrass me." The words didn't just sink in. They set up camp in my head and began a campfire. "You're a little fat, and it would embarrass me," repeated in my mind, like a song you can't get out of your head. It wasn't just an insult. It was a formal message. "Dear Noah, as of today, you are no longer a valued partner. You are a liability to the brand." I didn't yell. I didn't get defensive. I didn't even throw the spoon into the pasta pot. My mind, trained from a decade of building complex systems, simply began to process the information. My girlfriend found me embarrassing. Our relationship was like a failed software project. The foundation was rotten. The recommendation was to scrap it and start over. So, I just stared at her, my face completely expressionless. "Okay," I said, my voice as neutral as can be. "I understand." A look of immense relief washed over her face. She thought I had given in like a loyal dog begging for a belly rub. She even patted my arm as if she were a generous queen praising a faithful subject. "Thank you for being so mature about this," she said. "Mature, right? Because it's mature to tell your partner to pretend he doesn't exist in public." She had no idea. She thought she was protecting her precious brand, but in reality, she had just given me the one thing that money, kale smoothies, and Instagram followers couldn't buy: motivation. The next day, with Olivia's fat shaming still fresh in my mind, I didn't go to her sacred temple of cardio. Instead, I declared war. My battlefield was my laptop, and my weapons were logic and research. Olivia had made a huge mistake. She had insulted a man who solves problems for a living. And congratulations to her, because she had just been promoted to problem number 1. Here's the most important part. Her embarrassment wasn't just about my weight. It was never just about that. It was about her brand. In Olivia's world, everything is about who you associate with, who likes your posts, and who tags you. It's like high school, but with better lighting and protein shakes. And I was the bad association. I was the human equivalent of a cracked phone screen, functional but embarrassing to be seen with. So my plan was simple. If I was such a bad association, I would partner with someone who would make her head explode. That person was Victoria, Olivia's main rival. Olivia hated that word. Victoria was another local fitness influencer, but unlike Olivia, she was the real deal. We're talking about a former professional athlete with real certifications and a reputation for training so hard it would make anyone cry. While Olivia's feed was full of duck-lipped selfies and color-coordinated leggings, Victoria's showed her casually deadlifting small cars. They had a long history of passive-aggressive competition. Olivia once posted, "Strong is the new skinny," and Victoria replied with a video of her squatting a huge amount of weight with the caption, "Strong has always been strong." Olivia almost threw her ring light across the room. Olivia's deepest insecurity was Victoria's authenticity. While Olivia was trying to sell branded resistance bands, Victoria was actually training people to get in shape. So I got to work. In 2 days, I did a deep dive into her business. I stalked her social media harder than a bored ex with too much wine. I analyzed her business model, engagement statistics, and brand partnerships. And there it was, the opportunity. Victoria was smart, no doubt about it. But her business wasn't growing. She was still exchanging time for money, one sweaty client at a time. Amateur hour. She needed an infrastructure, a clear plan, and a vision. That's where I excel. I drafted a business proposal, not just a half-baked idea on a napkin, but a 10-page document with market analysis, revenue projections, and an execution strategy. If PowerPoint presentations had background music, mine would have been a war drum. Then I reached out to her, not as some out-of-shape guy begging for a discounted training session, but as a potential business partner. We met at a quiet coffee shop. She walked in looking exactly like her brand promised. Athletic and serious. The kind of person who could destroy your ego without saying a word. I laid it all out. "Look, here's the deal," I said. "I'm not here to be your client. I'm here to solve a problem. I've done the math, and I think your business could be 10 times bigger if you stop selling hours and start selling systems. I have the resources to help make that happen." She raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Why you?" she asked. It was a fair question, so I told her my story. Not a sad, emotional version, but just the facts. I was a competitive swimmer in college. Then I built a software company. The discipline I had in the pool didn't make it into the boardroom, and I let myself go. But I still have the drive, the discipline, and the financial resources. What I need is the right trainer to help me undergo a complete physical transformation. I pitched Victoria the idea. I would be her ultimate case study. Not just a random transformation story, but a full business strategy wrapped in sweat and humiliation. The deal was this. I'd pay her double her highest personal training rate for an exclusive 3-month contract. She would be my dedicated trainer, the drill sergeant to my sad, wheezing recruit. In return, we would document everything, every repetition, every grimace, every chalky protein shake. We weren't just going to put this on Instagram with a hashtag Transformation Tuesday hashtag. We were going to hire a professional videographer and photographer. This was going to be a cinematic production like a movie montage, but with more spreadsheets. We would use the content to build and launch a premium online fitness program called the Phoenix Project. I would handle the boring but essential parts, the business, platform development, marketing, and finances. Victoria would provide the expertise, the credibility, and the ability to actually do a pull-up without seeing stars. A 50-50 partnership. At first, she gave me the skeptical trainer look, the one that says, "You're about to pass out from jogging across the parking lot. But sure, tell me more about scaling." But as I showed her the numbers, the marketing plan, and the technical backend I could build, I saw her eyes light up. She started to realize this wasn't just a fantasy. It was a real opportunity to take her brand beyond posting sweaty selfies. And the story? It was pure gold. A successful but out-of-shape guy fighting his way back to fitness using her system? That wasn't just marketable. That was subscription service material. She looked at me, and a slow, shark-like smile appeared on her face. "What about Olivia?" she asked. I just shrugged, deadpan. "Olivia is just a data point that helped me prove my idea. This isn't about her. This is about building a successful business." Victoria laughed, loud enough to make the barista look over. "I'm in," she said. "When do we start?" Just like that, the game was on. We started the very next day. The rest of the week was a blur of planning sessions, interviewing video crews, and me doing initial fitness assessments that felt like medieval torture. It turned out I was weaker and slower than I had been in 15 years. Watching myself attempt a push-up was like watching a giraffe try to do ballet. But in all that sweat, soreness, and humiliation, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. A spark of my old self was returning. At home, I played the part of the defeated boyfriend so well that I deserved an award. I told Olivia she was right, that I had decided against joining her gym and would just try to eat better at home. I delivered the line with such sincerity that even I almost believed it. She was so smugly satisfied, as if she had just won a major competition. She never noticed the brand new gym bag hidden in my car trunk or the fact that I was suddenly sneaking out of the house at 5 a.m. every morning like someone with a secret fishing hobby. The following Monday was day one. We weren't going to her trendy, influencer-filled gym where the weights were mostly props. Victoria had a partnership with an old-school weightlifting dungeon across town. It was a place that smelled like iron, chalk, and broken egos. There were more squat racks than selfie mirrors, and more grunts than Instagram captions. It was the kind of gym where if you asked where the ring light was, you'd get a barbell dropped on your foot. Our first session was scheduled for 5:30 a.m., but before I stepped into that torture chamber, I had one final part of my plan to put into place. I knew Olivia's schedule. She never went to the gym in the morning. It was too early, and there wasn't enough natural light. No, Olivia showed up at 10 a.m. sharp, when the lighting was perfect and she could feel superior. So that Monday morning, while she was still asleep, I sent a little gift to her temple of fake fitness. A specialty coffee truck parked right outside from 9 to 11 a.m. with a big sign that read, "Compliments of Victoria Stone Fitness, fueling real workouts." It was petty and beautiful. It was my declaration of war, a passive-aggressive missile wrapped in caffeine and foam. A shot across the bow designed to do exactly one thing. Make sure Olivia was already annoyed, rattled, and completely furious before she even walked through the doors of her precious office. The stage was set. All I had to do now was show up and work. And let me tell you, the first week of the Phoenix Project was pure hell. Every muscle in my body cried out in protest. It wasn't a whisper or a whine. It was a full-on scream, like a child told they can't have candy. Victoria was ruthless, brutal, and brilliant. She pushed me to my absolute limit and then, just for fun, shoved me a little further. The video crew was there for all of it, of course, capturing every pained expression, every gasp for air, every drop of sweat as if it were a documentary on human suffering. At one point, I'm pretty sure the cameraman zoomed in on my face during a squat that nearly became my final moment. Was it humbling? Yes. Exhausting? Absolutely. But it was also the most alive I had felt in a decade. Meanwhile, back at home, Olivia was completely oblivious. She was so wrapped up in her curated little bubble that she didn't even notice I was practically crawling into bed at 9 p.m. every night like an exhausted old man. Or that our fridge had been taken over by grilled chicken and broccoli, while her sacred stash of wine and cheese had mysteriously disappeared. The coffee truck prank? Oh, that was a work of art. A huge success. My friend who went to her gym texted me, "Dude, it's all anyone's talking about. Olivia is losing it." Apparently, she had spent the entire day complaining about how unprofessional and aggressive Victoria was. Which, let's be honest, is Olivia's way of saying, "I'm mad because someone stole my spotlight and gave out free lattes." And then came the moment of truth, the big reveal. It was planned for the following Monday, exactly 1 week into my training. Victoria and I had it all arranged. She had a private training studio inside the larger gym, a glass-walled room usually reserved for her most important clients, which, to her surprise, now included me. We booked our 10 a.m. session specifically to coincide with Olivia's daily entrance, the moment when the natural light hit her cheekbones perfectly. Right on time, she strutted in, wearing a brand new, impossibly bright gym outfit, ready for her daily photo shoot. I saw her the moment she arrived. She wasn't alone. She had her two best friends with her, the kind of women who made her look intelligent. They headed straight for their usual corner near the selfie mirror, their natural habitat. Olivia immediately went into tripod setup mode, and the ritual began. I could almost hear her inner thoughts. "Okay, ladies, today's content theme is fake sweat, real filters." But then, as she adjusted her phone, I saw her eyes wander. They lazily scanned the gym floor until they landed on the glass-walled studio. She froze. Inside that studio was her absolute worst nightmare, me. Not hiding, not skulking in the shadows, but right in the center of a brutal set of deadlifts. My face was red, My veins were bulging, and sweat was dripping, making me look like a possessed man or maybe auditioning for a before photo. Hovering over me like a general commanding a soldier was Victoria, her arch-nemesis. To top it all off, on either side of us was a professional two-person camera crew, complete with high-end cameras, lighting rigs, and microphones. It didn't look like a personal training session. It looked like a major brand had decided to sponsor me. Olivia's signature smile, the one she practiced in the mirror, vanished instantly. Her phone, the most important thing in her life, was just dangling in her hand, completely forgotten. She stood there, staring, her face a perfect mixture of shock and confusion, as if someone had just told her that kale wasn't healthy. She saw me, her embarrassing, fat boyfriend, not cowering in a corner, but standing tall as the centerpiece of a professional production with her #1 rival. Then, almost like a robot, she started walking toward the studio, her two friends scurrying behind her like confused puppies who had lost the scent of their chew toy. She came right up to the glass wall and just stared, as if glaring hard enough would make the entire scene disappear. I finished my set, let the barbell crash to the floor with a satisfying metallic clang, and looked up. Our eyes met. I didn't smile or smirk. No dramatics. Just a small, dismissive nod. The same kind of nod you give a stranger when you accidentally make eye contact in the grocery store. Then I turned back to Victoria, calmly discussing my next set, as if Olivia wasn't even there. The message was clear. You are not important. She stood there for another full minute, completely silent, as if her brain had frozen. Then, without saying a word, she turned and stormed out of the gym, her two friends stumbling after her, trying to keep up in their neon leggings. The show was over, the curtain closed. And the best part? We had captured her entire reaction on camera. The stunned look, the jaw drop, the dramatic exit. It was cinematic gold. Honestly, a professional director couldn't have staged it better. That footage was going to be excellent for promotion. The fallout from what I now call the glass box incident was immediate and glorious. When I got home that evening, the air in the house was thick with a special kind of silence. A tense, angry silence where even the refrigerator's hum felt judgmental. Olivia was perched on the couch, her arms crossed so tightly I thought she might cut off her own circulation, waiting for me like a prosecutor about to give a closing statement. "What was that today?" she demanded, her voice shaking with rage. I didn't even flinch. I calmly started unpacking my gym bag because nothing ruins a dramatic confrontation like folding your sweat towel. "What was what?" I asked, as if I had no idea what she was talking about. "Don't play dumb with me," she snapped. "You were at my gym with her and with cameras. You did that to humiliate me." I paused, looked at her, and delivered my line as if it had been written just for me. "No, Olivia, I did that for me. You told me to act like I didn't know you at your gym because my presence would embarrass you. So I found a different gym and a trainer who wasn't embarrassed to be seen with me. In fact, she saw it as a business opportunity. This has nothing to do with you." The pure, cold logic of it hit her like a surprise math test. She opened her mouth to argue, but all that came out was sputtering, like an old car engine trying to start. She had no argument. None. I had followed her instructions to the letter, like the most petty rule follower in the world. And then came the knockout blow. The next day, the first promotional video for the Phoenix Project dropped on Victoria's social media. And let me tell you, it was a masterpiece. The video began with a shot of me looking like I'd just woken up from a donut-induced coma. My hair was messy, my stomach was round, and my eyes were filled with midlife despair. I said in a somber voice how I had lost my way. It was very before picture chic. Then, suddenly, there was a cinematic cut to me in my first week of training, sweating, groaning, and with a face as red as a tomato in a sauna. The camera crew captured every miserable repetition in perfect high definition. It was raw and honest. It was the training montage no one asked for but everyone needed. The best part? It ended with a perfectly timed tagline across the screen. "Rebuilding from the inside out. The Phoenix Project. Coming soon." I got chills and I was the one in the video. The video went viral in our local community almost instantly. Suddenly, I wasn't just Olivia's dumpy boyfriend who shouldn't be seen in public. No, now I was that guy doing the Phoenix Project. The story was too good. Everyone loves a comeback story, especially one that comes with sweat, redemption, and high-quality lighting. My social media, which had been as dead as my metabolism at age 35, suddenly exploded. I got friend requests, direct messages, and comments from people I hadn't spoken to since high school. Half of them were probably trying to sell me protein shakes, but still, it was attention. Meanwhile, Olivia's brand was circling the drain. Her whole act was based on looking perfect, living perfectly, and breathing perfectly. But compared to my tough, authentic underdog journey, she seemed faker than a spray tan at midnight. And people noticed. Her comment section became a war zone. "Why aren't you supporting your boyfriend? He's out there rebuilding himself, and you're just posting another mirror selfie. Kind of shallow, don't you think? Oh, and the cherry on top. A few people from the gym who had witnessed her meltdown during the glass box incident decided to share the story. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't poor Olivia. It was Olivia, the unsupportive, brand-obsessed girlfriend. 2 weeks into my training, I decided it was time. I sat her down, as serious as a judge about to deliver a sentence. Olivia, I said calmly, our relationship is over. Her eyes went wide, as if she hadn't seen this coming despite all the obvious warning signs. I kept going. That little comment you made about me embarrassing you wasn't just an insult. It was a complete statement about who you are as a person, and I don't want to build a future with someone who sees me as a temporary accessory. She opened her mouth to argue, but I was already pulling out the final piece. A formal, written 30-day notice for her to move out. Yes, I had it typed, printed, and signed, as if I were evicting a bad tenant. You have 30 days, I said, sliding the paper across the table like I was closing a business deal. She stammered, You can't do this. Oh, I can? I said, leaning back with a smile. You're not on the deed. And our little financial arrangement? It was completely informal, which means I tapped the notice for emphasis. Legally, you have no standing here. And that was it. She cried. She yelled. She begged. She gave the whole dramatic performance. Tears, a shaky voice, even the classic hand over the heart move, as if she were auditioning for a soap opera. I made a mistake, she cried. I was just stressed. I just sipped my coffee and nodded like a therapist who had already written the prescription. Decision's final, I said flatly. The curtain came down. The next 3 months were a complete blur. I trained like a man possessed, as if every donut I'd ever eaten was haunting me. The weight started to come off faster than Olivia's followers after the glass box incident. And underneath, guess what? My college muscles were still there. I hadn't seen them in years, but honestly, the best part wasn't even the body. It was the confidence, my sense of self. My backbone, which Olivia had apparently sold off somewhere, came back with a vengeance. The Phoenix Project became my whole world. My mornings were filled with sweat, my afternoons with business calls, and my nights with meal prep. Netflix? What's that? We were cooking chicken breasts and weighing broccoli, baby. And then came the big launch. The full online program. The culmination of 3 months of suffering, sweat, and enough protein powder to choke a horse. The results spoke for themselves. I'd lost 60 pounds of fat and gained 20 pounds of muscle. I looked like the rebooted, high-definition version of myself. And the launch? It was massive. We got thousands of subscriptions in the first week. The same business idea Olivia had scoffed at in that coffee shop was now a successful company. Meanwhile, Olivia's life was not going so well. She had to move into a sad little apartment with one of her friends. You could almost feel her regret through the Instagram filters. Her once sparkly social media presence was now a ghost town, with tumbleweeds rolling through the comments section. It turns out that when your brand is built on pretending life is perfect, reality has a way of destroying it. Then came the grocery store encounter. I was in full meal prep mode, stocking up on chicken, rice, and enough spinach to feed a superhero for a year. I turned into the frozen aisle, and there she was, Olivia, standing in front of the frozen pizzas as if they were long-lost family members. She looked small and tired, nothing like the polished version she used to filter into existence. She spotted me, and her eyes widened as if she had just seen a mythical creature wearing gym shorts. But what she was really looking at was a man she didn't recognize. Strong, confident, and happy. And then she just turned and walked away. Honestly, I don't blame her. Nothing says rockstar comeback, like bumping into your ex while she's holding a carton of frozen pepperoni regret. Meanwhile, I was rolling out with kale, chicken, and enough containers to supply a small army. We both got what we wanted. She kept her selfies and I kept my dignity, and frankly, that's a return on investment that would make a famous investor proud. After Olivia walked away that day, my life continued to move forward. The Phoenix Project grew, my confidence grew, and for the first time in years, I started dating again. It wasn't anything too serious at first. Just dinners, laughs, and a couple of awkward first dates that my friends still won't let me forget. But then I met Lena. She was a social worker who ran community programs for at-risk teenagers. We met at a charity event I had been invited to through the Phoenix Project. While I was showing off my biceps trying to open a stubborn water bottle, she just reached over, twisted it open with one hand, and handed it back to me with a smirk. I knew right then I was in trouble. What struck me wasn't just that she was strong. I was impressed by that too. It was that she spent her life rebuilding people, starting with kids who needed someone to believe in them. Our first conversation lasted for 3 hours. Our second one lasted until the cafe closed. We're not rushing into anything, but for the first time, I feel like I'm building something real with someone who sees me. Not my flaws, not my brand, not my before and after photos, but just me. And that feels like the best kind of future. The Phoenix Project rebuilt my body. Lena showed me how to rebuild my heart. And together, I think the best return on investment might still be ahead of me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.